Hi everyone, Richard here with a design challenge. Most of my recent videos have been about curriculum mapping with G Suite, so it's fun to take a break from that and explore other creative uses of G Suite. So here's the challenge. To build an electronic voting system for a one-time event that is anonymous, prevents duplicate votes, and accommodates young learners without smartphones. So this is actually a real use case. We have a student film festival fast approaching, and we wanted to move away from a paper balloting system for the audience award. So the system had to be quick, and it had to accommodate people without smartphones. It also had to prevent any potential fraud in voting, and so on and so forth. So on my drive home from work yesterday, the solution hit me, and I thought I'd make a video sharing how this is going to be accomplished. So step one was to create a folder in my Google Drive called Film Festival Voting, and in here I organized all of the necessary pieces I would need to build this. Of course, we'd be using a Google form to vote, so I made a form that consists of two questions. The first question will be asking for the voter ID. This will be pre-populated when the form is accessed by the audience member. Question two is the actual list of films. Okay, so they'll answer this one question form essentially and then submit their votes. The votes then fall into, of course, a spreadsheet, the form response sheet. And as you can notice in some of these responses, I've been playing with the idea of what to do if people vote more than once, or perhaps even modify a voter ID to try to get another vote into the ballot box. So I'll get into a little bit more about how I'm controlling for that logic. But before I do that, part of this process includes using Autocrat. So Autocrat is a great tool to perform merges into Google Docs from Google Forms. So essentially, I'm going to create tickets by merging the logo for the film festival, merging a QR code onto the ticket, and then merging the text of the unique voter ID. And when it's all said and done, you can use the single document mode in Autocrat to produce a sheet of multiple tickets. Okay, so they look something like this. And these could be distributed inside the program for the evening. So there would be a set amount, perhaps the capacity of the auditorium. We would print tickets for one per seat and control the votes that way. So on the response sheet, there is another tab called Voter IDs. So this is essentially the voter roll. So this is pre-populated with random voter IDs. And a quick way to create these voter IDs is using an add-on that's called the random generator. And this add-on is very simple to use. You essentially highlight the range of cells you want to produce random text in. So let's say if I'm going from Q1 to Q6, then you define what are the characteristics of that string of text. So in my case, I simply used a string of 8 letters and numbers, and I can generate it that way. Now I could have decided to use some of these other random characters as well, but because I knew I'd be working with building URLs, some characters do not play nicely with URLs. So I kept it simple and just went with capital letters and numbers. So I can do that, just get rid of, remove all of that. So also on the voter ID sheet, I added a link to the logo for the festival, right? So that's how the film festival logo is appearing on the ticket. Autocrat is picking up that the URL for that image and rendering it in the Google Doc. And then this URL is actually a link to the pre-filled URL. So this is the one that is actually the link that the QR code is taking you to. And this is done through a Google Apps script. So if I go to Script Editor, and this is not something I wrote, this is something that I had found and I've used in other cases as well, but essentially what happens is it's using the form that's attached to that Google sheet, and it's populating a pre-filled URL in the column of my choice. So I'm putting them in column 3. I'm making sure I'm getting the sheet name, which is voter IDs, right? Because that's where I want to make sure it's putting it on that sheet and not the form responses. So after I've configured all of this and I run it, it generates all of column C. And this is just a small sample. I think I have 19 voter IDs here. And then to build the QR code, you can use the Google chart, the chart APIs. So, and that's just it's a simple concatenation. So you can take the beginning part of the URL to build the QR code, and then you finish it off by referencing the cell where you want it to go to. So I want this QR code to go to this pre-filled URL. So this will say C2, down here it's C3, C4, and you get the idea. So the rest of the Autocrat setup is pretty simple. It's just important to keep in mind that you are using the single document mode, because you don't want an individual document per ticket. You kind of want them all just to save paper onto one document, and that creates the tickets. So what does this look like in action? So let's say, for example, we've distributed the tickets and we're at the festival, and we know that the vast majority of students and parents have smartphones, and they could probably assist young learners with their own ballots. And we would certainly announce prior to the event or at the very beginning of the event, that they should at some point download a QR code reader if they haven't already onto their device. So I'm just going to pick this random voter ID ticket, and I'm going to bring up my phone. So this is my device. I'm going to bring up my QR code reader, slide it aside, and I'm going to go ahead and scan my ticket. See, it pre-populates my voter ID with that question with my own voter ID, my random sort of unique voter ID, and I'm going to vote for. Actually, I'll vote for Ninja Warrior. I'm going to hit submit. So when it's submitted, the voter is given this confirmation message, again reinforcing this idea that voter fraud will not be permitted. So the vote has been recorded. Only one vote will be counted per voter ID. Voter IDs are cross-referenced with an official voter roll. Therefore, modified voter IDs not found in the voter roll will also be rejected. And we'll go into some of the logic here on the back end of this. So let's take a look at the form responses. So we literally just submitted a vote for Ninja Warrior. And if we go over to the results tab, we see here that the Ninja Warrior vote is here and available. But this whole row is actually populated via the unique function. So it's referencing the vote that came in, and it's ensuring that only one voter ID is in this particular column. In the next column over, I'm using an array formula VLOOKUP. So this is essentially taking column A, looking up that voter ID from the form responses, and then with an index of 2, it brings back the name of the film that that voter ID has voted for. So that's why this one is pulling back our warming planet. But if we look again, the one below, this one ending in L1 or LI4, we notice they've got multiple votes. But in the results, only the first vote is being counted, okay? Because, again, this is a unique list. So that eliminates the duplicate voting problem. So the other concern is that, well, since these are random IDs, what if somebody just changed the voter ID to something different? Well, certainly it would definitely land here, but I have another cross-reference check in column C. So what this column does is it actually looks up this unique voter ID and it cross-references it with the official voter IDs, which are on the voter ID tab. So in other words, if that voter ID does not exist here, what it produces is a blank. It'll produce a blank here if it's not found, and therefore it will not be counted. So the actual counting is done through a array formula and find. So let me talk a bit about column D first. So column D is essentially the same thing as column B, but it's referencing a different source list, right? So this one was referencing column A, which could potentially include voter IDs that are not on the roll, but we confirm them here. So now we know that if we do this, we're looking up this column, this is the confirmed column, and then we're pulling back again the index of 2 and pulling back the name of the film associated with that vote. So, and then in this column, this is where the count is being performed. So I'm essentially finding wherever F1, which in this case happens to be Bubbly Bubbles, and it's counting the number of times that Bubbly Bubbles appears in column D. So we can see that there's 2 here. There's actually 3 votes for coach, so on and so forth. So I want to leave this view open as I do another vote, just so you can kind of see it happen in real time. So I'm going to separate my ballots, and I'm going to take, what was that one that we just did, just to demonstrate. So we were NQO. So let me go back to NQO. So this ticket, we're gonna try to beat the system. So let's bring back the device. And open up my QR code reader, and we are going to attempt to trick the system. All right, so I'm actually going to modify my voter ID, and I'm going to change this just to a G. And this time, I'm going to vote for Bubbly Bubbles. I'm going to hit submit. Oops, I forgot to leave the actual results here. So So you can see bubbly bubbles came in, but it was not confirmed because this voter ID was not on the official voter roll. Therefore, it was not actually added to the count of the total counts for that film. So I hope you like this idea, and it's a fast, super fast way to ensure that everyone can vote. I do expect there be enough devices in the audience that for the younger students who do not have smartphones, they'll be able to use someone sitting next to them. Just they could scan their own ticket, punch in their vote, and if they're not sitting next to them, we could also set up little kiosks with tablets where they could bring their tickets, scan, and vote um, privately if that's what they wanted to do as well. So this was the challenge, and this was how I solved it, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.